today we're going to talk about, should you provide leads for your agents? And joining me and my special guest today is going to be Chris Ross. Chris is the founding partner of Touchstone Realty in West Virginia. There, searchingwestvirginia.com is the website that they use to generate leads, and it's kind of going to be the basis for the discussion that we have today about generating leads for your agents. Chris, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Bob, for inviting me, and I look forward to sharing kind of what we do here and answering questions that can help out other broker owners.
Fantastic. So a little bit of background on me and why maybe I'm capable of having a discussion like this with Chris. Prior to ActiveRain, we had our own brokerage, and one of the strengths of our brokerage, and in a lot of ways looking back on it, because this was 6, 7, 8 9 years ago, and we were relatively new into the real estate space, but we were very good at one thing, and that one thing was generating leads. And we generated leads, and this is a number of years ago, but there were some ridiculous numbers of leads. We were generating 200 leads a day throughout Western Washington, and we had about 150 agents under our umbrella that were working these leads. And one of the things that it's funny to look back and in putting this class together, I've learned so many things over the years that I wish I would have known then. But for you as a broker owner who's getting it, so even if you are already giving your agents leads, or maybe you're thinking about, should we as a brokerage be providing leads for our agents, there's a lot of stuff to kind of consider. And so today, Chris and I are going to go through those things that you want to be thinking about in terms of, am I going to provide leads for my agents? And it's not just a matter of, yes or no, right? It's a matter of, okay, if I want to, there's a bunch of stuff that I kind of have to line up to make sure that I end up having success, and I don't become one of those brokers that says, yeah, I tried that, and I just don't think that that's for our company or for our agents, right? There's some things that we kind of got to put in line, and hopefully Chris and I, in our discussion today, can help you guys kind of identify what some of those things are. So the first thing I want to consider is maybe the pros and the cons for why you would actually provide leads for your agents. And I'm the eternal optimist, so let's start with the pros, right? And Chris, maybe you could talk a little bit about the, you can see these, more closings. It's a great recruiting tool, and I think one of the things that maybe as you consider getting leads for your brokerage, one of the things that may kind of escape you at first as a potential pro is the ability to use this as a retention tool. So first, Chris, talk a little bit about using or having leads for your agents as a recruiting tool for your business. Are you guys like when you bring an agent in and sit them down, is this one of the first things that you're talking about with them, or is it a part of the overall package? And how do you present the idea that your company provides leads?
Well, one of the things that, it's very big for us is that we do generate a lot of leads here in our market. I mean, we have a population of about 100,000 people in our county here, and we're very close to the D.C. market. And we did 660 transactions last year, which was the top selling real estate company in the state of West Virginia. So we generate a lot of leads through different avenues. Obviously, getting signs in the yards, and also through different websites, like Market Leader. So for potential agents coming in, that's huge, because if we can take that off their plate and generate leads for them and let them go out and sell, and not worry about hey, how do I pay for my advertising, and where's it going to go, and this, that, or the other, and just say, the phone's going to be ringing, your email's going to be blowing up. You don't have to worry about generating those. You just have to worry about going out and closing deals.
So you're absolutely, when you sit down with an agent, saying this is what we provide as a brokerage, and a big part of that is the ability to have your phone ringing for you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we did a lot of deals last year, and we're very picky about who we bring in as an agent, because we don't want those turds to come in and say, hey, I'll do 2 or 3 deals a year. I want top producing, high performing agents that can come in and keep up with the amount of business that we do, and to be able to close and obviously, make themselves and us as a company more money. So, I mean, I probably get 2 or 3 agents a week who either come in my office or call me and say, hey, I want to come work for you guys. They're just not the right, the right person. We actually kind of go out and recruit a little bit on our own because of the amount of leads that we do generate.
In terms of having leads as a retention tool, do you think that there's something to that? Like, are agents in your office, do they get, I don't want to say addicted to these things, but is it something where they realize, look, if we leave Touchstone, that there's this great kind of opportunity that we're walking away from?
Absolutely, and we've had a few people leave and try to go out and do their own thing, and we've had mixed success, because it comes back to, for lack of a better word, agents are lazy for the most part, and they have a hard time, and I know something we'll talk about here later, but they have a hard time generating their own leads. So if you can provide them leads and you can give them the tools, and basically say, listen, here's all the tools, here's everything, you don't have to worry about it, we've provided all this for you. Like I said, all you got to do is answer the phone, return your emails, and go out and sell real estate.
So, and then more closings. I mean, we all realize that in this business, in a lot of successful brokers, and you guys are probably similar, Chris, you start to get it down to a formula, and we'll talk in a little bit about, internet leads aren't a slam dunk, and you said, maybe you guys are closing about 3%, but it just becomes a matter of, look, we know if we can close 3%, it just means we need to get more leads on top of it, and the more leads that we're able to generate, it just turns into more closings, and there becomes this formula that you guys run on. And look, the folks that are here on the call today, you guys are here because you realize that there's a bunch of pros around the idea of being able to generate more leads for the agents in your office, but there are also some cons, I think, and some of the things that we'll talk about, and some of these things will kind of be prevalent throughout the discussion today. The cons, right? These things can get expensive. They can be hard to track, and then look, internet leads are not a slam dunk. And Chris, so we were talking a little bit before the call, and you had said you guys are closing about 3% of the leads that you're generating. So, I mean, so for every 100 leads that are generated, you guys are closing 3%. Do you feel like that number? Go ahead.
That's 3% of your cold internet leads.
Sure.
So the leads that come in through, a website generating lead generation type of system, we close about 3% of those. Now, leads that come in from signs, that come in from, referrals and past buyers and past sellers and walk-ins, obviously those are going to be a much higher rate because, they're comfortable with you and there's a reason that they called you. So, I mean, it comes down to the, you're buying a lot of leads for them on the via the internet, and that's great. And if they close 3 out of every 100, then hopefully you're spending your money in the right places. But if they're closing, I would say 25 to 30% on everything else, then you have to kind of look at it and say, where am I spending my money? And do I want to spend more money on internet leads, or do I want to spend more money on getting organic leads? And that also comes down to the type of realtor that you have and where they're spending their time. That's a whole other discussion.
Right, because in some ways it takes a special kind of agent to be able to convert an internet lead. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So let's define a lead. So this would be my definition of a lead, right? A potential customer or client consisting of usually one of these pieces of information. Obviously, the more that you get, the better. Who showed some interest, and I guess I put who showed some interest in there because we used to do these rain camps. There was a funny story that Ben Kinney, who would do the rain camps with me, would tell of handing a list of 100 names to an agent who thought that these were people who had showed some interest on a website, and this guy went through and just started calling these folks and talking to them with a script about real estate, and he would come to find out it was just literally a list of names out of the phone book. So I guess in some ways those could be leads too, but what we're really talking about here is, look, somebody that's a potential customer or client of ours who's given us some piece of information. And So in terms of a lead for your guys' business, Chris, like, and internet leads, I guess specifically, you guys are getting leads that are just names and email addresses. Is that right?
I would say probably, we use Market Leader, and that's, we spend a lot of money on that. And, we probably generate somewhere between 250 to 300 leads per month through that in our market. Now, out of that, I would say 70% of them is just a name and an email address. If you get a phone number, you better be calling that phone number because there's a reason they put that phone number there. But yeah, the majority of them are just a name and an email address to your cold internet leads.
Okay, so we're going to talk about what you guys do to work those leads here in a little bit. But so where are these things coming from? And it comes down, you got two options here, right? You can go out and buy them, or you can generate them yourself. And I think, so let's talk about buying them first, right? You've got lead providers, Google pay-per-click, and then you can also go out and do your own kind of direct advertising, and that might be like you're advertising in your local online newspaper or whatever it is. There's kind of, this is not something new for you guys. Talk a little bit about, so in terms of buying leads, is Market Leader the only place that you guys are spending money? Are you doing your own direct Google pay-per-click stuff, or is there anywhere else out there that you guys are spending money to buy leads?
We've tried Zillow and Trulia and different things, and I feel like we don't get as much bang for our buck as we do through Market Leader. I could spend $700, $800, $900 a month on Trulia, and you might get 20 to 30 leads, but I feel like the percentages are much lower on those as it is through a Market Leader, just because Market Leader is not just a lead generation system, it is a lead management system, which is the tool that we use mostly not only with our cold internet leads, but with the leads that come in through other sources. If we use them in Market Leader, we can follow up with them much easier and be able to keep that dialogue going.
So in the spirit of full disclosure, Chris is obviously a Market Leader customer. He's brought him up a few times. ActiveRain is owned by Market Leader, but I don't want to be that company guy that's like pushing everybody. Look, there's other software out there like what Market Leader provides. I have one on the screen right now. Boomtown is an example of that. Tiger Leads would be another example of something like this. Zerple, right? These are companies that provide like brokerage level lead, not only generation, but lead management solutions. And Chris keeps kind of hinting at the lead management side of things. And this becomes just as big a part of the discussion as the ability to generate leads is how do I actually manage them once I have them. We're going to dive into that stuff in a little bit here as well. So
and I'll tell you, Tiger Leads, if I could have them in my market, there's another brokerage that has them, and they're kind of, they don't like to spread themselves too thin, but Tiger Leads is another one that I've seen the backside, and I would have them if I could. Unfortunately, I don't, and that's why we're with Market Leader. Another way that you can generate leads, is guerrilla marketing, and I try to get my guys to do this. And some of your older agents, may have a little trouble, but I think social media is a great place to be able to generate leads through Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, those sort of things. You have to be careful because you keep putting stuff on Facebook, on your personal Facebook. Eventually people are just going to get sick of it. And hey, I know you're a realtor. I know you sell a home. Stop putting hey, I just listed this house. I think that's why you have your own business page, and you invite people to follow that. And if they want to follow it, they will. But that's another place to kind of do some guerrilla marketing that really doesn't cost you anything.
So we can go out and generate them ourselves, and that's not even one that I have on here, social media. Craigslist, right? Are you guys doing Craigslist at all?
Yeah, there's a tool through Market Leader that we use, Craigslist, and makes it very simple. And we have about we have 6 staff people that are here on our team. That we have one girl that she goes on there every day, and she does nothing but post Craigslist. So she does it for all the agents. And if it's a new listing, we'll put it on there. If it's something that's been reduced, we'll make sure we hit it on there. And now I think you can. They used to have it where you could only do it once every 45 days. I think they've listed that ban, so you can pretty much put the same house on there every day. I wouldn't, but yeah, I mean, we probably get I would say 35 to 40% of our leads coming through Craigslist.
Okay, so you guys are doing some pretty good work on Craigslist. Now, I call you out a little bit here. I checked your ActiveRain blog, and I didn't see, a ton of blog posts in there. Are you guys doing anything with your own content creation in terms of like blogging? Are you doing that stuff maybe on your own site, or are you doing any blogging at all?
It's something. It just comes down to time. I'll be honest with you. Blogging is something that I think can and does help you. And I do try to blog a little bit. I don't blog as much on ActiveRain as I do through my own personal website. But it's just a time thing. You only have so many hours in the day, and you can only, if that's something that you set the time aside and you blog, then that's great. It's just one of those things. It's not at the top of my list.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just joking around.
No, that's okay.
It becomes a matter of there are only so many hours in the day, right? And you guys have made the decision that, look, there's ways for us to go out and generate these things ourselves, but we're also willing to pay for them because we realize that at the end of the day, we can track back the return on investment, and it ends up being a positive return on the investment that you're making to actually just spend your money instead of spend your time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting back to the blogging, I think one of the things that I get hot and cold about is I'll do video blogging through YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, and people are about 90% more 90% more likely to watch a video than they are to read an article. So I think if you can do that, if you can do more video blogging, video, posts that you can't go on for 20 minutes or anything, keep 3 to 4 minutes, and do that, then I think that's a great lead generation tool, as well as one of the things that we've been successful with on YouTube is doing YouTube videos of the homes, but not just the pictures. We'll actually go out and do a walkthrough through the house, and that way, if you've got a client that's out of town and they're interested in the house, you can send them that link and say, hey, here's a video walkthrough, so you can get a feel for how the house flows and sets up and how big the rooms are and so on. And I've gotten people that have called me, just, hey, I saw your video on YouTube, and I'm interested, so tell me more or whatever. So that's another free tool that you can use.
Talk about your offline advertising. So before, when we were kind of prepping for this call, you had talked about your guys' business. You guys were doing a lot of like bank-owned stuff. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
we do. That's one of the things that we opened our doors a little over 3 years ago, and we've been very successful. We're Fannie Mae direct. We do a lot of foreclosure work, and one of the things that we do is we let our agents. We have one main guy who obviously runs the account, but we have our agents go out and do some of the legwork up front, and then they're allowed to put their sign in the yard with their name on it. So that's a huge tool because, obviously if you got somebody driving around, they see your house, they're going to call you. And, our goal is to try to pull as many doubles as possible. We want to be able to, obviously we have the listing because we have, Fannie Mae or so on and so forth, and our agents, we want them to be able to work the seller. Now, they may not sell them that house, but now they've got a real live buyer on the phone, and they can say, oh yeah, let's look at this one, but hey, I've got 3 other ones that could work as well. So, obviously if you get a phone call from a buyer that's sitting in front of the house, they're probably pretty serious. So that's one of the ways that we generate a lot of business is to be able to let our agents put those signs in the yard. Now, obviously, they have their own listings, so they're going to get phone calls off of that. But as far as, for the companies that work the RIO world, we seem to be very successful on that side of it.
And in our discussion, I had posed the question now, when a sign call comes in, is it kind of standard operating procedure at your brokerage that person's name and contact information ends up getting put into your lead management CRM or your market leader back end, and you basically said, yeah, I mean, we're expecting the agents to get any of those different sources of leads and get them into the system so that the system can start to work those things. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, because you may have somebody that calls you and they could be 2-3 months away. They could be waiting for a promotion. They could be just driving around town and they're moving down the road, and I don't know how many times you'll get an agent that, hey, blah, 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 here's all my info. Great, I'll call you on Monday, or I'll follow up, or whatever. And guess what? That gets lost in the car. That gets lost in somewhere between, your house and the office, or however you want to do it, where if you can go on there and put that lead directly into the system right there, then the system, whatever it is, whether it's, top producer or tighter leads, market leader, whatever, then the system can start working those leads to be able to, generate emails and generate follow-ups, to be able to keep that that lead engaged. Now, you have to be careful on that, because people aren't stupid, and they know that, okay, this is an automated generated email that this guy sends me every day. So you have to do your own due diligence and follow up and let them know that you are a real person behind the website, behind the emails, and send them an email and say, hey, had a great weekend, the weather was great, or did you see that game last night, or hey, looks like there's going to be a big snowstorm coming up, or whatever, to be able to kind of put that personal touch on there, so they know, hey, this guy's a real person. This is an automated generated email with these homes, and that's great. But I'm also getting these other emails from this client, from this realtor, saying, asking, some real life questions.
Okay, so in terms of generating leads yourself, who's actually generating them? Like, are you guys, so you mentioned that you have some staff, right? Is that right? So it's not necessarily something you and your partner sit down and put the Craigslist ads in, or talk a little bit about, you have a full-time staff dedicated to that? You have somebody that kind of does that stuff on the side a little bit?
Well, we have one of the, as far as the Craigslist stuff is concerned, one of the girls that works here, that is part of her duty. So she goes on there every day, and she'll upload, anywhere from 10 to 20 different Craigslist posts. So that's part of what her daily duties are. And then on top of that, we have all the staff that works on the back end to help with the foreclosure side, the real world, to kind of make sure that all that stuff runs smoothly, so that our agents don't have to worry about that, and they can go out and close. The other thing, we have a closing coordinator. So in our world, we want you to turn as many sales as you can. So once you kind of put that client under contract and you've gone through, ratifying it and everything, then, we're turning that over to a closing coordinator who kind of takes the ball and runs from there. Now, you may have to jump in and fix a problem from a home inspection or an issue or this, that, or the other, but I want you to go out and get the next client and close, get them on the contract and not have to worry about, the ebbs and flows of, okay, I had a great month, then I had a crappy month because, I closed this amount of deals, and then when I was spending all my time getting them closed, and I didn't have time to go out there and work my leads. So we want to be able to take as much of that burden off of our agents to be able to, we'll do the advertising on the backside, we'll generate the leads, you go out and do what you do best, because we know at the end of the day that most realtors are not paperwork people. Most good salespeople are not paperwork people, so we want to be able to take the burden off of them so they can go out and close more deals.
So so assuming we can all agree, like, yeah, providing leads for our agents, that's something we're definitely thinking about doing, or we're doing it right now, but maybe we're not having as much success with it as we'd like. So let's talk about, kind of dive a little bit deeper into the weeds and talk about some of the specifics of, okay, we've got leads now coming in to the brokerage, whether we bought them or whether we're generating some on our own. Let's talk a little bit about lead distribution. What model should somebody use? And so I'll give you guys a little bit of background on what we did. And I mentioned we were generating a lot more leads than we could probably even handle, and it was a good position to be in But what we found is there's something called lead fatigue. And we had a system where it was generally the person with the most time is kind of the person that got the lead because we had so many. What type of a system do you guys use for getting the leads out into the hands of the agent who either is like the best equipped to handle it, the top producer? Are you going with the guy who's got the most time because he doesn't have a bunch of business going on right now? Are you cherry picking really good leads off and sending them to the best agent? Like, how are you guys working this in terms of the distribution of leads to the agents?
Well, as far as the lead generation systems, we do a round robin. We do a round robin. They come in, and they're spread out. You're in line, then the next guy gets it, the next guy gets it, and so on and so forth. As far as our other leads that come in, I do a lot of commercial work myself. I do some higher end homes. So as far as other leads that come in into the office, I mean, we don't require desk duty at our office. I mean, I know a lot of agents do that, but we don't require you to come in and have to be here from 1 to 4 to answer the phones. I mean, we have somebody here to answer the phones. If you're here, it's almost a little bit of a boiler room atmosphere. If you're here, you're going to get that call if you're available. Because, like I said, most of our agents are high producing, top producing type of agents. I don't want the slugs of the world. I want the guys that can handle it. So if you're in the office and the phone call comes in, and if you're available, you're going to get it. If it's one of your properties, obviously you're going to get that phone call. Now, as far as location to me has a lot to do with it too. I mean, I might get somebody that's looking in an area that honestly it's a little farther out than I really want to go, and I know that I have a particular agent who works that area. Then I'm going to send that lead to that agent because I feel like they're going to take care of them the best. So I kind of look at a couple different variables on that. The other thing we do in the evenings, we forward the phones to an agent. So each week, an agent gets the phone for that week. So when the staff leaves here at about 4:30, they forward the phones to that agent's cell phone. So that way, every time somebody calls the office number, they're going to get that lead as well. They get it in the evenings and on the weekends. Then come Monday, the next person gets it in line. So we try to make sure we keep that going as well.
Do you think there's something to like getting the best leads to the top performing agent? Like, and I mean, there's definitely some favoritism involved there, but the world's not a fair place. Like, do you guys ever do that? Like, do you get a lead that comes in and you're like, man, this is a good one? Like, because back in the day when we had our stuff, like, we're in the Seattle area, and so if I ever saw a lead come in and like the email address was @Microsoft.com, and I could tell it was a good phone number, and the guy's looking at $800, $900 million houses, like, I'm putting that lead in the hands of like Kate, who was probably our best agent. Do you do that ever?
I think you do that to an extent. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to the personality. You want to match up. If you feel like as a lead comes in, let's say they call me and they say, hey, I'm looking for X, and I kind of gone through and scrubbed it a little bit, and I'm like, this just sounds like one that maybe I don't want to take care of. It's going to be a little bit more time, or it's going to be a little bit more, more than I want to deal with, or I just don't match up with them personality-wise. I may go to another agent and say, hey, I think this client or this lead, I think you guys will work perfect together. I've got one realtor who, he's like a blue-collar realtor. He'll deal with the factory workers and truck drivers and those people. Now, he may not deal with somebody who is a white-collar CEO type very well. And I've got another guy that may deal with that lead a little bit better. We have weekly meetings in our office where we sit down and we brainstorm, and we're very open about who we're working with and what we're looking for. And, we may have an agent that say, I've been working with this guy, and we just don't get along, or we're just not seeing eye to eye. Hey, Bob, you might be able to work them a little bit better, and kick me something back, on a referral if you close it, So, because at the end of the day, we want it to stay in house. We don't want them to call, another agency. So, I think you have to. There's a lot of different variables that are involved there as far as who gets the lead and why.
Got it. All right, so you keep talking about your system, your market leader system. You've got this back end, and talk to me a little bit about that system. There's in any of these systems, the Boomtowns, the Tigers, the market leaders, there's all kinds of bells and whistles on the back end. Can you maybe identify for me, what are the top 2 components of your CRM, your lead management tool, that you really get the most use out of? Do it first from an agent's perspective. So I'm a user on the system. I'm in there. What are the tools in there that these kinds of systems provide that help me to move somebody down the pipeline?
I think one of the main tools is to get them signed up for some type of listing alert. So if you've talked to them and you know kind of what they're looking for, then you kind of detail that listing alert to make sure that every day or when something hits the market that fits their criteria, that client is getting it. I've had times I don't take leads on the market leader side anymore, but when I was a much more active agent on that end of the business, I would be out with a client, or I'd be out with my family, or I'd be at a ball game, and all of a sudden you get this phone call that client or lead somebody calls you and says, hey, you sent me this listing this morning. You've been sending me listings for the last 6 months, and you sent me this one this morning, and I'm ready to buy, or I'm getting a job, or I'm moving to the area, or hey, we're ready to look, or we just sold our house, or whatever it is. So I think that, because if you're not managing those leads, they're going to call somebody else, because they're going to buy at some point. So that's why it's, to continually keep in touch and do those things. I think the listing alerts is a great tool to be able to keep in contact with that. The other thing is, on our site, you categorize them, and if it's an active lead that's coming into the system, maybe they're coming back once every week or two, then you can categorize them. If it's somebody that came into the system and maybe they haven't been back in the last month or month and a half, then you can put them in another folder. If it's somebody that is a hot buyer, then obviously you want to be able to work that folder the most. So it helps you be able to break up your leads to, okay, who do I want to spend the most time with, to who do I really maybe send them an email once every couple of weeks and see if I can get them back into the system, because you may not have a phone number, you may just have an email address, and you're just trying, fishing. You're throwing a line out there, and you're trying to get them to bite and pull in.
One of the market leaders system has it, and when we had we had to build our own back in the day. They didn't have companies like Boomtown or Market Leader or Tiger Leads. So, but one of the things that I've really liked in these kinds of systems is the ability to tell who's recently been on the site, or who's back on the site, or who's on the site right now. Do your agents use that? Is that, because if I come in there and I've got 300 leads, and it's okay, well, which one of these people do I call today? Are they using that, who was recently on, who's on right now, kind of indicator inside the system to pick the phone up and decide who they're going to call right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that I would look at is recently active leads. So these are the people that have been back on the site or on the site within the last 48 hours. So you want to concentrate on them, because there's obviously a reason they're coming back to the site. Whether it's, maybe it's a home that they're interested in, maybe they're new to the site and you want to make sure that you're following up with them, or somebody that maybe hadn't been on the site for 3 or 4 months and something caught their interest and they came back to the site. So you want to kind of shoot them an email and say, hey, I noticed that you're back on the site. So usually, depending on how many leads you have in your system, that could be 10 or 15 emails that you could send out, and at the end of to be honest, at the end of the day, you can have 2 or 3 different sort of scripted emails that you can send to them that you've already got pre-written, so you don't have to go into too much, original thought to be able to send them that email, so you can kind of get through them, so then you can go work your hot buyers.
From a broker perspective, then, what tool is in this system that allows you as a broker to thrive? Like, is it the ability to check up on the agents? Is it the ability to make sure that the people that are in there who haven't been on for 3 months but came back today are getting followed up with? From a broker owner's perspective, like, how are you using this system to make sure these leads are getting taken care of?
Yeah, well, me and the other founding partner at Touchstone, we both can log into the backside of the broker side of the system, so we can see basically a dashboard snapshot of where everybody's at. If there's a lead that's been sitting in there for a day and nobody touched it, or somebody a lead emailed somebody and they haven't been emailed or followed up with, then I can pick up the phone and call that agent and say, hey, where are we at? What are we doing? The way our system works is if you have a new lead that comes in the system and you don't do anything with them for 24 hours, it'll lock you out of the system, and you have to come to one of us to get reactivated. And nobody wants to do that, because then I'm going to sit there and go, what's going on? And they could be just extremely busy selling real estate, closing deals with clients, and you say, okay, I understand, that's fine. Or they could be, out goofing off and playing golf or doing whatever, and then you can kind of sit down and say, hey, let's talk about this, and hey, maybe you've got a busy weekend, maybe your kids are in sports or whatever else. Well, maybe Friday when you leave, you put yourself on vacation so you don't get leads, and when you come back Monday, you can take yourself off vacation, so those leads that are coming in are going to get worked by the agents that are on the system and ready to work them. So it's a great way for us to be able to kind of know who's doing what, and it's got percentages on there of follow-up ratings, and how fast are you getting to your leads when they come in, and who kind of your closing ratios and everything. So it kind of gives us, it's not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination, but it gives us a good snapshot of who's doing what with those leads that are coming in.
I think one of the things that I like about that is the ability to just have some contact and communication with the agents, right? I mean, like you said, if they might be super busy and they didn't do something for 24 hours, but that gives you a chance to just touch base with them. There's a reason as the broker, right, why you're reaching out to them and you're saying, hey, we're providing these leads for you. We need you to be working them in a certain fashion. So let's talk about your agents, and should agents have training before they sit down and work these leads? And I mean, I think both of us would agree the answer to that is yes. And you don't disagree with that, do you?
No, we try to do. I mean, that's if you're a busy brokerage and you've got agents that are selling a lot of real estate. Unfortunately, sometimes training gets kind of lost in the shuffle. If I have a new agent that's coming in, and they may not be new in real estate, but they may be new to our system, I definitely want to sit down and show them, how the website works, and, kind of how our system works, and what goes on, and, if we get a foreclosure property, kind of how that process works. So we want to make sure that we do those things. About once a quarter, I will rent out a, hotel conference room or whatever, and we'll take agents. I'll take agents over there, and we'll do a workshop. It might be closing. It might be well, actually, we used to do something called Touchstone 101, and we've got a little bit away from it, and we're reintroducing it, where every week at our meetings, we have weekly meetings on Monday mornings where everybody talks about what they do. But then we'll have one of the agents or one of the staff do a presentation, might be 20, 25 minutes on, how this works, or, closing, or phone calls, or, we brought in our accountant to kind of talk to them about how taxes work, because we all know that realtors always pay their taxes. And, be able to go from, be able to kind of give them some additional training and dialogue that they can utilize and put right into their tool bag.
Talk for a little bit. So, I mean, you guys have agents that have been using the system for a while, right? You're not like going to an agent who's been using the system for 3 years and setting expectations for them. But when somebody new comes in, as an agent who's going to sit down and start working internet leads, what are some of the things you think that they need to be prepared with? Like, does the fact that they're going to get 97 people ignore them before the 3 people want to buy something? I mean, is that an expectation that needs to be set? Like, what are some of those expectations you think an agent needs to have so that they realize kind of what they're up against in terms of internet leads, or maybe even just kind of sign call leads or leads in general?
Absolutely. I mean, we show them the system, we show how it works, but, especially cold internet leads, they're not, it's not, like I said, it's not like somebody calling you sitting in front of the house. Where you have to work that system, you have to continually, it's not a, it's a little bit of a, well, I think there's 2 different kinds of realtors in the business, and one is a farmer, and the others are hunters and gatherers. And if you can be a farmer and plant your seed to different places and work your leads on the internet and work your referral system, then you're going to continually grow your crop and be able to continually have a steady income coming in. Now, if you're a hunter and gatherer, you get a phone call, somebody calls, yeah, I'm sitting in front of this house, and you do no pre-qual, you don't really even talk to them, and then you run out and show them that house, and guess what? They could be, they could have just had a bankruptcy or foreclosure. So you definitely have to kind of, our goal here is to try to create farmers so we can create that pipeline of closings and not have the ebb and flow of, oh, I had 5 closings this month, and next month I'll have 1, and I'm going to be broke. So we try to instill that up front, and that's why, in our brokerage, we try to have, even if you're a new agent coming in, we want you to be a top producing agent. We'll give you the tools to do that, and we'll try to give you the training up front. We have quotas at our office. You have to do so many deals a quarter, or else, you're going to be on the bad boy list.
You guys use scripts and dialogues? Like your agents?
We do a point. I mean, we provide some of it. We do some of the training. But at the end of the day, it's, every agent has their own little niche. They have to find their, what they're good at. Whether it's working a certain type of lead / client, or am I better with maybe working with some more investors than I am with, sellers, or should I concentrate more on sellers than I do buyers? And so what we try to do is kind of help nurture that and help them down that path. So we'll up front, we provide scripts, we provide dialogue, we provide training on, hey, this is how you should do a phone call. This is how, when somebody comes in, you want to kind of, what I call is put them through a funnel system. So, you're not taking them out and showing them 40 or 50 houses before they find the one that they want. And in my world, if I can't find that house within about 10, then I probably didn't do my job, or that lead is not ready to buy a house yet.
We'll talk about how to work a lead here in a minute. Give me the #1 common complaint, right? I mean, it's not all peaches and cream. These agents, your agents eventually come to you with something about these leads. What is that most common complaint?
The lead that signed up on my website is, they wrote, whatever, John Smith, and it's not real, or, fill in the blank, because, I've seen some really funny ones. And at the end of the day, it's, I might get 100 leads, and I could only maybe I close 1 out of that 100, and I don't necessarily know if they keep track like we do on the backside, but we'll sit in our meetings, and that's probably the biggest complaint when it comes to leads is, we'll ask them, yeah, how's the website doing? And when we say website, that's our lead generation website. How's the website doing? It was really good 2 weeks ago, and it's fallen off now, or it's really hot, and I can't keep up, or I haven't really got anything in this week. Or I might have one agent that says, hey, all my leads are great, and I got another agent that says all my leads suck. And it's just when it comes to that, because they're all cold internet leads, it's just that part is the luck of the draw, and I think they kind of understand that, but that's probably the biggest complaint that we get is, and then you got to turn around and look and say, well, okay, what are you doing? If you're getting that lead coming in, how are you working them? And kind of get back to the root of the system.
Let's talk about that. What should be the standards of following up? So for anybody out there that you're thinking about letting your agents use leads or buy leads for your agents, or you're already doing it, you maybe don't have a good standard of follow-up, before I let Chris kind of talk about how their agents follow up with leads, if you want a system, and gosh, I wish we would have had this when our agents were doing leads. We had something similar. There's something out there called the 10 Days of Pain. And if you were to Google 10 Days of Pain real estate, or you can even shoot me an email at bob@activerain.com, and I could probably help you get your hands on this thing. Ben Kinney, who's got a team, and they do 550 transactions a year on his team, they use a system called the 10 Days of Pain, where it's as hard for the consumer to receive it as it is for the agent to do it, and that's why they call it the 10 Days of Pain. But in that first 10 days after somebody becomes a lead, they go completely out of their way to try to track this person down in a ton of different fashions, right? They're not only using email and phone, but they're using text message, and they're trying to find them on social media, and they're sending videos out to them, and they're doing all sorts of different things inside of that first 10 days. Talk to me a little bit about, Chris, about what should the standards of follow-up be, or what do you expect from your agents in terms of, first, how fast do they follow up, and then how consistently over some period of time do they follow up?
I feel like if you get getting back to the cold internet leads, if you get that lead and you're not doing something with them within the first 2 to 3 hours, I mean, I know that they get an automated, they'll get an automated regenerated email that says, thanks for signing up, blah, blah, blah. But if you're not doing something with them within the first 2 to 3 hours, your percentages go way down. There's a lot of realtors, I feel like, who are so scared to, if there's a phone number there, to pick up that phone and call them. They're uncomfortable with it. They don't want to feel like they're bothering them. And there's a reason they put that phone number there. Now, what I've told a lot of our guys is, especially during the day, because hopefully if they're a buyer, they've got a job. So, and most people work during the day. So I say, hey, maybe you gave them a call and you got a voicemail and you sent them an email. Follow up with a text message, because it's a little less intrusive. And if they want to text you back, they will. So go into, most people have smartphones now, so go into your notes or whatever and kind of put together a little, script or a little, something there that you can copy and paste and put it right in there that kind of tells you who you are and what you do, and don't make it 16 paragraphs, short and to the point, because like you said, that first 10 days is crucial. And if you don't get back in touch with them within the first, I would say, 12 hours, your chances of converting that lead is way down. After 24 hours, you might as well just go ahead and say, screw it, I'm probably not getting that lead. As far as following up with them, I feel like if they're coming back to your site on a regular basis, you need to be following up with them, at least once a week, sending them an email of some kind, a personal email, or hey, I saw you looked at these houses, and go ahead and have some of those pre-written so you can kind of just click and go, so you can get through those. That first, couple hours / couple days is critical, because, if you don't get in touch with them, if you don't try to convert them, then they're just going to drive down the road and see a house, and they're going to call the sign in the yard, and chances are it ain't you, and you spent money to generate this lead, and then all of a sudden somebody else is going to go ahead and get your deal.
One of the things that I love, so, and maybe we didn't explain this good enough up front, but the market leader system is essentially on the front end an IDX website. And if you guys want to see Chris's website, it's searchinwestvirginia.com. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, it's all spelled out.
Okay, so searchinwestvirginia.com. That's the front end IDX. And then he's been talking about the back end kind of lead management piece to it. But one of the things I love about leads that come in off of a system like that, or a Boomtown or a Tiger Leads, is you know what properties they've looked at, right? So if it's somebody that's back on the website again, they've been on there every day this week, and they've looked at this one listing 4 times, right? Because you can see they've looked at that listing 4 times, and gosh, they won't answer the call, they haven't responded to the email. Then maybe the text message becomes, hey, I see you guys have looked at 123 Main Street 5 times. I was just out there yesterday. Like, would you like some more pictures, or would you like me to do a video walkthrough, right? There's kind of these catches inside of the system that allow you to be able to have more meaningful conversations when you are reaching out to follow up with these people. Like, are your agents taking advantage of the fact that they know what people are looking at?
Absolutely. I think that's another great tool, is to be able to see what they are looking at, and also what house they came in on. If they came in on a certain house, and that house is maybe it's not going to last long, or it just went on the market, or it just had a price reduction, you can then take that information and then email it to them and say, hey, I saw that you were looking at 123 High Street, and it just got a price reduction, or it just got listed, and we've already gotten a lot of activity on it. Do you want to schedule a showing, or what's your schedule look like, or so on and so forth. Yeah, those are the tools that can make the difference between you and every other realtor.
How do you guys track your sales? So at the end of the day, I guess the better question is, at the end of the day, like, how do you know that the money you're spending on leads for your agents is profitable to your business?
That's a really hard question, and it's hard to track it, and it's not an exact science. I mean, obviously on the website you can track it, because if they came in, you can you put them into the sold category, and how many leads are sold, and you can go in there and see where they came from. We don't I don't necessarily track it down to did they come in off, I mean, I'd love to be able to do it. Did they come in off a phone call? Did they come in off a sign? Did they come in, did they walk through the door? Was it a referral? I mean, we track our sales, and we know what we've done as a company. We sit down in our meetings, and we say, yeah, I've sold. We've got a spreadsheet that everybody gets, and Bob Smith has sold X amount of real estate this year, and how many do you have under contract, and for how much money. So I mean, we kind of track it in more of a broad scale, because it's just I feel like if you're a busy agency, it is harder to track and see exactly where they came from. I'd love to be able to do it. I mean, we've done certain things, like on our signs, we have a dedicated, like maybe a Google Voice number, so we know that when they're calling off the sign, they're calling on that Google Voice number. Or we may have a text message system that we've done in the past, where for more information, text this number, so we can kind of help track that way. But it's that part is tough if you sell a lot of real estate.
Well, let me ask you this then. I mean, just from the buying leads perspective, because like you said, it's not cheap, right? I mean, you guys are spending a fair amount of money on this. Like, is it just without question at the end of the day, this is paying off? Or do you kind of have a sense, okay, if we get 3 or 4 deals from the internet leads this month, then that's a break even, and anything above that is gravy? Like, how do you get a sense for like the money we're actually spending, if it's turning into, if it's not just money down the drain?
Right. Part of that is, like I said, in our weekly meetings, we gauge our agents. Hey, where are you getting your buyers from? How's the website working? Hey, the website's blowing up, and I'm getting a lot of buyers from that. or the website sucks, and maybe we need to turn it down a little bit, and next month because we're not generating quite as much, and maybe we need to put our money in other things, maybe put some billboards up or put some, do some magazine advertising, and just we allow our agents a certain amount of money each month to do their own personal marketing, so they can do that up to a certain amount, and anything above that, obviously, they would cover themselves. But so if you feel like you want to do a billboard or you want to do your own ads in the newspaper or the magazine, we'll help cover that. The way our system works is, we pay for everything. We pay for your MRIS. We pay for your we pay for your all your advertising, your signs, if you have an electronic e-key, we pay for everything. We don't charge desk fees. We don't charge copy fees, anything like that. But we have quotas, and you have to hit your quotas, and that's, at the end of the day, that's the real sales tracker. If you're not performing, you're not going to be here, because I'm not going to spend all this money on you for you not to perform, and then you're costing me money. It doesn't matter where the money goes, you're costing me money at the end of the day.
I love that idea of quotas. Man, I wish we would have had those back in my time. Right. When is it time to pull the plug? Oh, go ahead.
This is the thing on quotas. If you have goals, you're 50% more productive. But if you're held accountable and you know that I have to hit that quota at the end of the quarter, you're about 400% more productive. So you think about that, because nobody wants to come in and say, oh, I missed my quota by one. And then you got to sit down with us, and we got to figure out exactly, what's the problem, or now if somebody missed their quota by one, but they've got 6 deals under contract that are closing in the next 30 days, then okay, things happen. It's not all your fault. It's not all the it could be appraisers, could be home inspections, could be the lender, so on and so forth. So we understand that, but quotas, to me, if you can hold your agents accountable, then they're going to be more productive.
So have you guys ever had to pull an agent out of the rotation, just to say, hey, you're not cut out for this, like you're better at open houses? Or
I've fired agents for not. I mean, I had an agent 2 years ago who did 23 deals in 1 year, and but they were continually not working the website, not following up with customers, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I mean, he did 23 deals, which in our market, you're a top producer. But he just didn't work in our system. He didn't work under our roof, and we ended up letting him go. And he went on to go work at another agency, and I think he's doing okay. But then we went back and started working his leads that were on Market Leader, and come to find out there were 10 people that ended up buying homes that he just never followed up with. So, that's why it is important to be able to make sure that, if you have an agent that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you've gone through the steps to try to help train them, to try to make them better, to try to point them in a different direction, if they're just not getting it and they're just not working it, then, they're just costing you money, and it's time for you to let them go.
Appreciate you guys joining us here for ActiveRain University. Chris, have a fantastic second half of your week. Bye-bye, everybody.